So base level nutrition, like most bars aren't great. But then from an ingredient standpoint, and this is what really stuck out for me as a mom who was previously making, basically everything my daughter was eating by hand for those first, few years, was like, what are all of these weird ingredients? Like, I'm no food science expert, but like, what are these? And why are they in this food that I'm about to feed my toddler?
Welcome to the Earth Food First podcast, where we are reimagining America's kid food culture to protect our children's whole health, and that means body, mood, and mind. In this guest series, we're talking with founders who have created the cleanest convenience foods on the market today, keeping our kids' health top priority. With this series, we wanted to make it easier for you to discover and support food brands you can trust, who are using only the highest quality ingredients and whole foods to help our families thrive. Today, I'm sitting down with Jana Goodbaum, the co-founder of Happy Wolf, and the mama we can all thank for finally creating a truly nutritious and delicious snack bar for kids, made solely with ingredients that we'd find in our own pantries and containing just 6 grams of sugar from dates and honey. Jana is the proud mom of 2 very hungry toddlers and someone who's always been passionate about health and nutrition. When she had kids, her commitment to health through good nutrition intensified. But as a busy working mom, she was seriously struggling with snack time. But I'll let Jana tell you the rest of the story. By the end of the episode, you'll understand more about how certain snacks can balance blood sugar, what made Jana quit her day job to start her dream job despite having 2 toddlers at home, top challenges of building a new food brand, the controversial choice they made in their final recipes, the Clean Label Project and why it matters, Jana's take on several hot button topics in our current kid food culture, and what makes Happy Wolf different from all the other bars out there. Hello, Jana. Thank you so much for coming on the Earth Food First podcast today. I was so excited to not only have you as part of our launch series, but to be able to connect and talk to such a kindred spirit who is disrupting the kids snack category by making a far better bar, not only for the little people that we love so much, but I have also heard that adults are liking them too. So I'm so excited to have you on today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I feel the exact same.
So I just want to get one elephant in the room out. I was actually at Whole Foods today shopping, and I ran into a couple moms, and they know about the podcast. So I was telling them, I'm interviewing this amazing new mompreneur, and she has this bar. And literally one of them said, wow, that's really brave. There's so many bars. What made you feel called to create one more?
Such a good question. And I think the moms of Whole Foods will be the first to understand, because I was too a mom of Whole Foods, staring down at an aisle of hundreds, if not more, hundreds of bars, trying to choose one for my toddler Joey, who's now 3.5, and it had to be school safe, it had to be nut free, and that narrows the playing field a lot. And I felt like, am I crazy? It's 2020, it's 2022 at the time. It's 2022. I'm in Whole Foods and I can't find a single bar that I feel good about serving to my, 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old at the time. And bars, you have a toddler, bars are the thing, you don't want them to be the thing, they are the thing. And the fact that it was such a saturated category, and yet there was nothing that checked my boxes that I felt good about, I felt that was a problem that I could tackle. Now, I didn't know anything about starting a bar business at that time. So, I think some of it is naivete about what that would look like, but I really felt that there was such a gap in the market for parents like us. That I jumped right into solving.
I love it. So at that time when you had that epiphany, what were you doing?
So I previously was on the other side of the food industry. in fast
Oh,
food,
wow. Okay.
actually, fast food
Okay.
marketing for many years. So maybe I'm making my amends as well. And I actually led advertising in Canada for a company called Tim Hortons, which is on every corner here. We're like the Dunkin' Donuts
Oh,
of
okay.
Canada.
Okay. Gotcha. So you,
But I was such a strict mom that I wouldn't, feed my own kids the products that I was selling. So that became a
got
problem.
it. That's so interesting. I too also previously had a cookie company and I was like going to become the next Mrs. Fields. And that was in my early 20s
Wow.
and akin to like wanting, I was promoting, granted, it was higher quality chocolate, but still they were sugar filled cupcakes and cookies. And now here I am like the veggies first mama. Like, so, I think we all live on different sides of the fence at different points in our life. But so you said you're in the aisle, you're looking at all these bars, and literally not one of them is making the cut for you, which I can absolutely relate to. So what is it that makes the Happy Wolf bars different? What don't they have that all the other ones do?
Great question. So I think, first of all, when you ask the average parent about bars, all of them will say, okay, my kids have them all the time, but they're mostly carbs and sugar. Like nobody's feeling, like their kid is really getting this like balanced, fullness, or they're satiated for the day from their bar. Like they're like having a sugar crash right
Yeah.
after. So base level nutrition, like most bars, aren't great. But then from an ingredient standpoint, and this is what really stuck out for me as a mom who was previously making, basically everything my daughter was eating by hand for those first, few years, was like, what are all of these weird ingredients? Like, I'm no food science expert, but like, what are these? And why are they in this food that I'm about to feed my toddler? And that sort of set me down on this path of learning about ingredients. And really, when we started Happy Wolf, the goal was to create a bar that used exactly the same ingredients that we used in our own kitchens at home when we made food for our kids. And I have a co-founder. I'll tell you a little bit about him afterwards. So when I say we. But, it's like, why aren't these companies able to use the same ingredients that I use when I make homemade energy balls for my daughter?
Yeah. I mean, and it's such a great question and it sounds so logical. I know you're not the only mom because before starting Earth Food First in the podcast, I was actually in my kitchen and I was going to make a bar. And I went down the path a little bit. I used to be on the tech side in the CPG world. That's consumer packaged goods for anyone that doesn't know. And I knew a lot about it and I've written a cookbook and I've done recipe development. And I was like, this couldn't be that hard. Oh, mama, as you know, it is very hard. And once I realized that my bars probably would have need to be refrigerated like yours are, I said, I can't take this on right now with like a 1.5-year-old at home. But I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did.
Thanks.
Thank you. So you mentioned that a lot of bars aren't necessarily balanced, right? They're essentially sugar and refined carbohydrates. So we're giving our kids cookies, right? And then they crash and then they want another snack and another snack. And then they're not hungry for dinner. Yeah. So you wanted to make a balanced bar. Can you dive in a little bit to what do your macronutrients look like? What is that fat, protein, and carbohydrate?
For sure. So here's our little bar. It's only 24 grams, so it's not huge. It definitely is not a meal replacement. This is a snack. And within this small but mighty bar, we have 6 grams of healthy fats, we have 2 grams of fiber, and we have 3 grams of protein, which doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to your average granola bar that has 0 grams or 1 gram of protein and fiber, that's actually a really big difference, especially when you're talking about a toddler. And a really important difference is we have 6 grams of total sugar in here, which is a lot lower than your average granola bar. And all of that is from dates and honey. So these are not refined sugars. And 2 grams is considered added sugar, which is a really important point that we can get into later.
Got it. And I love that you hit that 6 gram of sugar number. When I was trying to create the bars, I looked at all the bars. Most of them were 10 plus, right? And depending on what sugar chart you use, toddlers are not supposed to have, definitely under 10. It's not the 25 grams of sugar that like the CDC recommends. That's another podcast for another time. But that's amazing that you really were able to stay within that. And where is your healthy fat coming from?
It's funny. So we have cacao butter, we have sunflower seed butter, we have pumpkin seed butter. It's, it is truly really balanced. It's funny you said that your goal was around that 6. We actually had a goal of 4. So we had like a really, for many, many variations of our recipe, we were trying to hit this 4 grams of sugar from dates. And the truth is, it didn't taste good enough. We did like 152 recipes or 154 recipes. It was so many versions where we were trying to hit that 4. And then on the topic of sugar, I think somebody throughout the recipe development process told me this quote that really stuck with me, which is, nutrition is nothing if not consumed. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me. We had tried a ton of recipes on our journey that had this 4 gram of sugar limit, and we just really weren't able to make it taste good enough that kids would be begging for it the same way they do other snacks.
So that is a perfect segue into my next question. I want to know, there's a lot of other bars like we talked about in the market. Cerebelli is one that I actually think the ingredients are great, and I was pumped. You should have seen me in the Whole Foods aisle when I found them. I was like, someone else did it. I don't have to. And then we tried them. And I think they are at that 4 grams of sugar, if I'm not mistaken. And like I love their vegetable pouches, specifically the ones with no fruit. But I think they have those. But the bars, they just didn't taste good to me, and Stella won't eat them either. So I totally see what you're saying. How do you guys measure up ingredient wise compared to like the other cleaner kid food bars on the market?
So it's interesting. Cerebelli is also one of the preferred snacks that I, did grab for when I needed something convenient and on the go. But we really are different in that we don't use, as many processed ingredients. And now every food ingredient is processed to a degree. So it's not really fair to say we use no processed ingredients, but we were very, very thoughtful about using whole food ingredients wherever we possibly could. So I'll give an example talking about Cerebelli. I believe they use sunflower seed protein in their bars. I just have to double check, but I'm fairly certain they use sunflower seed protein, which is, an extract. It's extracting out the protein from the sunflower seed, which is not bad by any stretch, but I certainly am not feeding my daughter sunflower seed protein in my own kitchen. But I am mixing in sunflower seed butter into her oatmeal to make it, thicker and more nutrient dense. And our sunflower seed butter is, purely sunflower seeds. There's no added oils, there's no added flavoring or salt or sugar, anything like that. And so we just were very, very thoughtful about trying to stay as close to, the source as possible when it came to every single one of our ingredients. And then, thinking about other cleaner bars in the market, a lot of them rely on natural flavors for flavoring. And this, we could have a whole podcast about all that I have uncovered about natural flavors over the last 2 years. They're not this evil, they sort of are scary. They can be scary, but they're not evil, but they are not transparent. They're not really all that natural. And what they do is, they create like a false flavor within your kid's snack or your seltzer water or anything else really packaged and processed that you're eating. And we weren't really prepared to go there. So feedback that we've gotten, through this journey, like, wow, your bars are really subtle tasting. Like that strawberry, it's super subtle compared to everyone else. I don't smell the strawberry when I open up your package. It's not like strong, like strawberry. And we're like, yeah, that's the point. Freeze-dried strawberries don't, like, in a small amount, like, they don't smell like perfume, but it's real. And so for parents who have sort of started on this journey of not feeding their kids a ton of processed food, that's not new for them, and they're not scared away from that. But for like grocery store buyers who control that aisle of hundreds of products, all which use natural flavors, like, this is really different.
Wow. And that's a very big mountain to be up against, because to your point, like the buyers, not always, but often they may be older. They haven't had kids for a long time, or, some of them don't have kids. And yes, they're used to having that smell sensation, right? That whiff of like a strawberry field. And what I want to just say to everyone like that is listening, that maybe isn't quite far along on their whole food journey, and you are looking for that, we've become people that are living in a Willy Wonka world. Like, unless you're buying fresh, ripe strawberries in season, it's not going to smell like that. And so you should be concerned if you open your package of your child's snack or cereal and you get this very strong whiff of fruit, because it's not natural, right? And I don't know how they are still able to call them natural flavors.
It's a bit of a racket.
And maybe that'll get rolled back at some point. But I'm going to ask you this. I don't know if you'll have insight into it or not, but along your journey, what did you learn about, like, what is in a natural flavor, or how do they make it? Is there any quick, like, 101 you can share on that, or you didn't really go down that path?
Oh no, I tried to go down the path. I mean, you really have to be a food scientist to, like, truly understand. They take, something from the original, let's say, lemon or strawberry, and then they recreate it in a lab.
In a lab, right? It's like in a lab. It's not like they're like squeezing lemon essence.
No, it's proprietary. So there can be, I love these brands that are like, we have 5 simple ingredients or 3 simple ingredients. The term natural flavors on any food label can legally have up to 100 sub-ingredients that are proprietary, that the company doesn't have to share within the natural flavors label. So again, and some people say, well, the dose is really what matters, not the poison. And fine, it's not a lot, sure, it's a tiny amount, but that 5 ingredient product that you're consuming could hypothetically be 105 ingredients, and you don't know what they are.
Right. You don't know what they are. And when you're consuming those things that are artificially, even though naturally artificially flavored,
yeah, and they're synthetic, and they're, there's additives and preservatives, like, it's a black box. Even the companies that we talk to, because we, originally through this process, we did look into, like, what is the most natural version of a natural flavor that you could possibly create? Like, is there something like a vanilla extract for strawberry? So we talked to these flavor houses to try to figure out, could we make a pure strawberry extract? And every time, that someone told us, oh yes, we can do it, just strawberry and water would be the ingredients. We were, amazing. And then it would come back, a sample would come back in a little vial, and it would always say ingredient strawberry, natural flavors. And we would laugh, and they don't necessarily know what's in that specific version that they're selling you. So for us, that was a huge no. And the majority of packaged food products are using natural flavors to get you that strong flavor.
And the other problem with that I don't think we talk about enough is processed foods, because they're often engineered to have like a bliss point, to be, something, to your point, kids want to ask for over and over again. They change our taste buds. And then, so if you have a strawberry snack bar that has natural flavors in it, and then a child tastes a strawberry, especially maybe out of season, they are not going to taste it as much. It changes their taste buds. If anyone's ever done the Whole30 diet, all of a sudden in 3 days, fruit tastes really sweet. And the same thing, you guys, is happening like to our kids' tongues. And so it makes it harder for them to embrace what I call earth foods or whole foods. So I just applaud you so much for not sticking to your guns, not using the natural flavors, so our children can actually start redeveloping their palates for real true food. So well done, you. So these bars sound like a dream. And like I said, one I would have created. I'm so glad you did it. I think there's a lot of moms out there who can really relate to having the desire to create a better version of something that they cannot find in market. But so many of them, those ideas just remain dreams. What was the tipping point for you that made you really decide to take the idea of Happy Wolf and make it into, a reality?
Okay, so I'll probably go a little bit bigger, and I'll just tell you like what was going on, and how I got into this crazy world of food. So, like I said, I was staring down the aisles of Whole Foods. I couldn't find anything that felt, I don't want to say good enough for my kid, but like I felt that way at the time. I was like, yeah, I don't want to give her this, and I immediately and I come from marketing, so I think my brain immediately went to like, well, I can't be the only one who feels this way. And over the course of, almost a year, I went on a mat leave. I had my son. I started talking to other parents, and let's be honest, it's mostly moms who are really the ones who are deeply caring about this topic. And I talked to, first I started with friends, and then friends of friends, friends of friends of friends. I ended up talking to like several hundred parents over the course of this year. And I really found that almost none of them loved the brands of snacks that their kids were eating, but their kids were eating a lot of snacks. And as a marketer who has worked in brand for my whole career, I felt like this is, a category that we interact with all the time, and yet no one has like this love relationship with it. Not to mention all of the problems that I, saw in the ingredient decks and the nutritional panels. And I just felt like, well, there's this white space, there's this white space for someone to come in and create the brand that so many of these parents are missing, for this next generation of parents who, like, General Mills can talk to us, but we don't trust them.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. And so many parents felt like I did. And so for me, it was having these conversations, and, they were rolling, and it felt like everybody agreed that there was a white space, and nobody could understand why no one had tackled it yet.
Got it. So you kind of got that corroboration you needed to say, I'm going to quit my day job, and here I go into the wild world of consumer packaged goods.
Into the wild world of food. And I couldn't have done it alone. Now, I'm going to say that maybe I could have. Sure, maybe I could have, but I didn't want to. I know myself. I needed a partner to do this. So my husband's best friend, his name is Derek, I had watched him over the past decade build, almost like a better pet food company. I don't have pets. So for me, I was kind of like watching from the outside 10 years ago, like, who's going to buy this like human grade pet food for their pets and pay all this money for it? And like, wow, this is crazy. And I watched him build and scale this business. And he left, he exited. He was a full-time dad at the time. And, I basically went to him and I said, let's do what you did for your dog, Molly, and now let's do it for your kids. Because now there's all of these amazing better for you or better for pet brands. but it's not really happened in kids. There's been a lot of innovation for babies, a lot of innovations for us, but not so much on the kids front. So once it took a lot of convincing, but once he was on board, then I really felt like, okay, let's do this. And now I have like a partner in crime.
I love that. And so smart of you to decide that you wanted a partner and needed that accountability. I'm just like that. And good for you for knowing that and finding someone who sounds like it was kismet, like meant to be, right?
Totally. And it's like the other side of my brain. Like I'm the creative, ideas. I knew exactly the type of brand I wanted to build. Like I had no idea how to build it.
Yeah. You need the operator, right?
And how to make the product,
Yeah, that's amazing.
How to source the ingredients that are organic, allergen-free, non-GMO, heavy metal tested, not
all the things.
It would have taken me, 2 years to figure all of that out.
So what advice would you have for a mom who's listening to this and she's like, gosh, that was like Jana did it and I have this idea, but I have kids at home. It's not the right time. What advice would you give them in terms of, wanting to lean into a dream that they have?
I get this question all the time. And every time I laugh because I'm like, Jana did it. Like, I don't have it figured out. I'm doing it, but I'm, it's a hot mess over here. And I think every working mom, whether you start a business or you just are a mom or you're, trying to balance both. Like, I think we all feel like we're trying to do it all the time and we're trying to do it all perfectly. And I think, I had a working mom. I actually have a working grandma who's like so fierce. That's another podcast again for another day. But I think I grew up watching them, admiring them, feeling like they had it all in a way, but never ever feeling like they had it all together or that it was all easy. It always seemed hard, it seemed hard. It seemed worth it, but it seemed hard. And so I always say to people, go in knowing it's going to be a mess sometimes. You're probably not going to be the most perfect mom on the PTA and that's okay. But you're going to be living your dream and you're going to be the best mom to your kids that you possibly can be. And don't let that pursuit of perfection drag you down.
Those are very wise words, all of them. And it feels hard because it is hard, right? But I love what you said, but it doesn't mean it's not worth it. Walk me through what's been the most fun part and then what's been the absolute most challenging.
It's all been really fun. I won't lie. Taking something from an idea to a reality for me is my idea of a lot of fun. I'm learning so much. Every day is a complete and utter, I'm Googling videos about how to do keyword bidding at the age of, I don't know, at this point in my career, I'm learning totally new things. And that's just 1 hour of the day. And then the next hour I'm having a call with someone else to learn about something completely different, food labeling, laws, whatever. It's a complete, brain explosion every day. And I'm absolutely loving it. It's a lot of fun. It's really challenging too. And I won't ever tell anybody it's not. I think people, I think in 2024, you have to sort of build publicly. You have to be on social a little bit. And I think social has a tendency of, you just don't really want to put out a post when you're crying or when something's gone terribly wrong. And so it sort of just is by nature a highlight reel, or you're acting out the trauma later on, which is a whole other story. But it feels so easy on social when in reality it is so hard. And so just thinking back to those moments where we didn't think we were going to find all the ingredients we needed for these products. And then we didn't think that we were going to find a co-packer who could make this for us because our requirements were so specific. And co-packing is, by nature, that's a third-party manufacturer who makes your food with you for you. They're incentivized to process food, that last a really long time, that's as safe as possible, which of course we are also concerned about making as safe as possible. But, the more processing agents and preservatives and, emulsifiers and fillers and additives, like, you can make it cheaper, you can make it faster, you can make it last longer, you can make it not stick to their machines, you can make it spit out the machine faster. And so for us to tell them, we need you to make us a bar without any of that, without any of the sort of tools that you have in your arsenal to produce a bar, efficiently, let's say. It really cut down the number of co-packers that we could talk to and who would sort of take a chance on us and experiment with us. It wasn't very popular, and it made it extremely hard to find a co-packing partner who would take a chance on us and who would experiment with us to create a bar without all of those ultra-processed ingredients.
And isn't it interesting to hear that, and this is good for everyone out there that buys processed food and buys snacks, all of those have to be made in factories, right? In co-packing facilities, or in, if it's General Mills, it's probably their own facility. But their top of mind concern was, will it stick to my machine? How cheaply can it be made? All of how fast can it be made? How fast can I make other bars after that? You don't hear one of these, companies that are like, how healthy is it for the people that are going to be consuming it? Whoever your co-packer is, thank you to that co-packer for working with Happy Wolf, because that's amazing, and well done for just overcoming that intense challenge.
But I think that's I think you're hitting on something that I did not understand going into this business, but even thinking about food in the grocery store in general. I think I had very naive, I just had trust that every ingredient in a product is there because it is, designed for me, because it's better for me in some way. But to your point, it's almost never about the end consumer, all of these ultra processed ingredients. It's all about making it better for the manufacturer, making it better for the co-packer, even making it better for the grocery store and the distributor, because they last forever and they can, sit in the heat for 3 years and they won't mold, like nothing will happen to them. So, none of these ingredients are there for you and for your child.
So accurate. Yes. And I always tell people, if a loaf of bread doesn't mold in a week, or God forbid, 6 months, run. You don't want to be eating that. And I will say that for bars. I'll say that for any food. Like, don't eat it. Food should mold, period. If it's real food, it should mold. You heard it here first, folks. We want our food to mold. Right. So that is actually a great segue into your bars are refrigerated. Okay. So if you want to find Happy Wolf bars, everyone, look in the refrigerated bar section. Why did you do that? And I know it's a hard choice, but tell me why.
Like I said, I wanted to create a better bar for kids. And any way that we looked at it, and we met with so many food science teams, and we really tried. Of course, we wanted it to be shelf stable. It's easier for everyone. It's cheaper. It's just, it cuts out a lot of the challenges that we're currently facing, which I'm sure I'll get into. But we couldn't do it without compromising on ingredients. So we either had to add a preservative, we had to add a lot more sugar, because sugar is a natural preservative, or, there were many other options, and none of them were ingredients that I had ever, either heard of or used in my own, let alone used in my own kitchen. So we decided if we were to compromise, what is the point of this bar? Then we're not different at all from everybody else. And so we kept going, and we made the agonizing, it was a really hard choice, but a hard choice to try this thing refrigerated.
And just tell people, how long will it last in the refrigerator?
So it lasts about 6 months, a little bit longer, in the fridge. So when you actually think about the ingredients in our bar, when you think of a jar of sunflower seed butter, a jar of pumpkin seed butter, we have gluten-free oats, we have honey and dates, like these aren't actually ingredients that like mold very quickly, right? Or go bad really quickly. Cacao, these are actually ingredients that can last naturally for a while. But what happens is they start to oxidize, they start to become less fresh tasting. And so it's not actually a food safety concern, although it's certainly not safe out of the fridge for years like other products. But it's not a food safety concern within our sort of lifespan of this bar, but it really is a taste, texture, experience. Like your kid's not going to like it if it tastes sour. Yeah. And it's the same reason why it's always recommended to store your jars of pumpkin seed butter or sunflower seed butter in the fridge the minute you open them. I keep my dates in the fridge. I keep my cacao in the fridge. All ingredients that stay fresher in the fridge. The fridge is a natural preservative. And so we tell people they're good on the go for 3 days.
Oh.
We might actually change it to a week because they are good. If I forget one in my purse or in my kid's lunch bag or my diaper bag, like you don't have to throw it out. It's totally safe within reason, I think we are going to change it to a week because it's just confusing right now at 3 days. But it tastes best cold, and it tastes best, fresher. We also, because of that sunflower seed and pumpkin seed butter, the oils start to naturally separate in the bar. And so it does become sort of oily, just like, if you have a jar of pure pumpkin seed butter, oil comes to the top.
That's because it's real food.
The fridge keeps that from happening.
I think that so many people don't know, but oils and seeds and nuts go rancid very quickly. And if you keep them shockingly
quickly.
People don't know. They just have pumpkin seeds or whatever. And you start to taste them. And if you've really noticed, it's like the fresher, the better. No question. So I think when we shop today, at least if you're a label reader, there are so many labels. We're looking for non-GMO and organic and gluten-free and vegan and all the things. But recently you see this clean label project label that I know Happy Wolf is a part of. What does this label really mean?
Yeah, so the Clean Label project, and it's a certification. They test your products in a third-party lab, and they're basically testing for traces of heavy metals, of pesticides, and for endocrine disrupting hormones of concern, which we're hearing about. I feel like I'm hearing about more every single day. The truth is, I'm not an expert in this area by any means. And there's many people who will tell you, oh, but there's heavy metals in everything. And the sweet potato that you're, pulling from your farm, that has heavy metals in it too. I'm like, great. I can't test everything. What I can do is test my own product that I am selling with my name on it and giving to small children. And I have the power to thoughtfully source and test to make sure that I am not contributing and sort of causing harm. And that for me is so important. I think parents today have so much to worry about. We're just inundated with stress and worry and mistrust of all these food companies. And so if I can do the work to alleviate some of that fear for other parents like me, I was just so happy to lean in and do it.
And I think I kept wondering why there wasn't one label that I could just see that label and be like, I'm good. Because I mean, we're busy, we're moms. We don't want to go be like, okay, does it have this label and this label? It makes you start to I started making a lot of my own condiments at home because I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to read the fine print. So I love this clean label, and I love that it's on your bars. Good for you guys. And I think more and more moms will start to really appreciate what that means, because as much as we want to just pull the wool over our eyes and pretend like, oh, we all grew up on Doritos and, Lucky Charms and we're fine. I grew up eating very healthfully, actually, and I'm not fine. I actually have a gut health issue that I've been trying to heal for 6 years, which is part of what made me start Earth Food First. And I think you're going to see more and more this like gut health issue, gut dysbiosis, younger and younger from all of these things, because we're just living in a more toxic world. We just are. That's where we're at. So we have to adapt. And
like, I think anybody who says like, oh, but we're fine, I'm like, no, we're
right.
not fine. Like, look around, you know, and look at the health outcomes today. It's just we're not
Yeah.
fine. And so to just do the same things that have always been done,
Yeah.
it's easy, but it's not going to
Yeah.
make us all better.
Yeah.
So
It's the short-term
I
easy
think-
path is to think we don't need to change anything. But I always say,
and it makes it a lot better for the big
lot
food
better.
companies too, right? Like, I mean, if I could do this, like, let's be real. If Derek and I could do this, like, we are no Mondelez, we're no General Mills, we're no experts here. If we could figure this out, not at scale, like a General Mills or one of these big corporations could figure this out
Right.
too, right? If they had to, if the demand was there and they felt like the customer was shifting their dollars enough to brands who were doing this and who are taking market share away from them, they will do
Right.
this. They will start to clean up. They will get the certifications. They will push change up the whole food system if they need to. But if we're telling each other, oh, we're okay, we don't need to make any change, we'll keep buying the Cheerios, nothing's going to change.
Right. And I think we've started to see the big food companies are starting to understand because they're buying up companies like Hue. And, you know, you hope that they're able to maintain their, you know, independence enough to stay really clean. And I think for the most part, like, I know a lot of those brands.
But they're buying it because we're voting
Right.
with our dollars. Like,
Yes.
I bought enough Hue myself that they're like, oh,
yes,
there are so many people who want this.
Yeah, with Hue, my husband was like, "Do we own stock in Hue? Like, what's going on?" And it's true, but voting with their dollar, they will stop making it if we stop buying it. So you've been in the actual market since like what, last fall? Was it last September that you've been in markets?
Yes. Yes.
What is your biggest fear or challenge right now in relation to the bars being a success?
So first of all, we launched D2C because we really wanted, you know, parents who heard about us to be able to access our product.
Direct, and that's direct to consumer, right? So you can buy them on your site direct to the consumer.
Yes. And listen, we have premium ingredients. We are a premium product, not by choice, not because we want to be, and hopefully with scale we can become more and more accessible. But right now we're already expensive baseline at the grocery store. Sending it D2C and having to then charge like for shipping because shipping refrigerated is so expensive, adding the ice packs, adding the insulated box. It's really asking people to like make a $40 or $50 investment to buy, you know, their first try of boxes of bars that their kid has never tasted. Like, we're asking a lot of people. We're getting a shocking number of people, you know, who are willing to try because there are so few bars out there. But we know that it's much easier to try it when you can just grab it on the shelf and try one box for, you know, $8.99. That's just an easier sell. And so we are really motivated to get into grocery stores probably earlier in our journey than if we were shelf stable and we could live direct to consumer for longer. And for more. So we sort of ran into grocery. We are at a select number of Wegmans in the Northeast, and we are sort of in SoCal. We're in Erewhon, we're in Gelson's, and we're in Jimbo so far, which it's been amazing. We have more stores coming online soon, but you know, I think we knew this going in, but it's different when it's yours. Like, we are not in the part of the grocery store that you think you're gonna find a really ultra clean kids bar, and so our biggest challenge by far is like getting you, Lindsay, while you're doing your weekly grocery shop, to find us and to know that we're there when we're not next to the Cerebelli bars and we're not next to the, Cliff Z bars. And so you can't sort of just do a side-to-side comparison and have that context and know that this is a product that you're going to be really excited about.
Yeah.
We're we're in different places. Like at Wegmans, we're with the kids' dairy and sort of non-dairy smoothies. So think like the ones that buy farm pouches and the forager smoothies. And then in California, we're with the perfect bars. We're with the adult refrigerated bars. And so not every health conscious parent is necessarily hitting that section of the store in their weekly grocery run. And so getting their attention and finding that customer who we know would be so excited about Happy Wolf has been really challenging.
I remember working with Nona Lim is a refrigerated brand and refrigerated soup cups. And there was a huge challenge that people weren't finding. Once they were found, then it was great. But to your point, not always in the same location in every grocery store. So just a message to all the lovely listeners out there. If you want to try Happy Wolf, go to find someone that works at the store. Ask them where it is, then you will forever know, so you can become a loyalist. So that's how it works to support companies that are trying to support our kids. Because that challenge is super real. So let's just shift for a minute. I want to talk. There's so much going on right now in like the current food culture in the U.S., but especially kid food. There's just a lot of all different opinions online. It's a very hot, button topic. What is your opinion on the current narrative in the nutrition community that, talking to your kids, especially if they're younger, about the artificial ingredients or the food dyes, can create disordered eating or is fear mongering, and that, again, mostly everything's okay in moderation. What's your take?
I know in theory what my take is, but the truth is my kids are so young that I haven't really had to cross that threshold myself, which I think, it's easier said than done. I know that. But I think we go back to that point I made about I really don't stop them out in public, at birthday parties, at fairs. I feel a bit bad about it. Like last week I was at this festival and my daughter was literally licking blue icing off of a cookie and her whole mouth was blue and I was just like, oh my God. But I didn't stop her. It was like a cookie decorating station and I let her have that fun, but you won't find that icing in my house, and so it will sort of always inherently be a special treat that you have once in a while, not that's built up that we're talking about for months at a time so she's binging it when she sees it, but it's just not something that she's having regularly. I think there's a lot of benefit to talking about the superpowers that certain foods can bring. I talk about, we make smoothies every morning, and so they're touching fruits and vegetables and, whole foods, and they're putting them in, they're pouring in flax and hemp and chia, and we're talking about, oh, this makes you strong, and this keeps your tummy full during the day. And so I think I'm not necessarily talking to my 3.5-year-old right now about the ill effects of food dyes, but I am certainly trying to teach them from a very young age that certain foods can, lift you up and make you healthier and make you stronger, and sort of celebrating those foods.
Yeah, I love that approach. And I have a 4-year-old, and as someone who experienced disordered eating myself all through college and high school, I totally know how scary that is, and I would never want that for any child. But I guess for me, there's a disconnect. It's we feel an obligation to educate our children about all things that could be harmful to them, right? From stranger danger to not going on a slide a certain way. We educate them. And yet there's this hard stop about being so timid about truly educating them about where we are in the current processed food culture. And we've come to this place where all the foods cannot be trusted. And again, I think striking a balance between education, not demonizing, but just factual things. I tell my daughter if there's things that could potentially not make her feel great. And I tell my daughter that she needs to be careful crossing the street because those are facts in my mind.
Yeah.
But if we're out in the world, like, she's also not being deprived because that can create issues too. All right, so we're coming to the end. We have a little speed round of questioning for you. So, what have been the two most difficult things or frustrating things about being a mompreneur, a mom entrepreneur specifically?
About being a mom entrepreneur. It's funny, I always say this, but I really saw it. I was at a trade show recently, and it was just like so glaringly hilarious that, part of this brand is I have to tell my story, and I talk about, I have 2 kids, and immediately, so people stop me in the middle of me sort of giving my little elevator pitch, and they're like, where are your kids? Like, who has your kids?
I don't know. Where are they?
Here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, they're hiding under the table.
Oh my God, I have to go.
No. But they're like, oh, you came to San Diego, and who has your kids? Who? Oh, people said, is your husband babysitting? That came up a few times, and I'm like, it's just a hilarious.
Yes, you're paying him to babysit, right?
2024. It's like we've come so far, and yet we have not. We have not come very far at all when you get the comments like that, and they all come from such well-meaning people, men, women, all ages. Like, everybody means well, nobody's judging, but they're it's cultural. Like shocked. Like, where are your kids? You have a 2-year-old? Where's your 2-year-old?
That is very funny. That's a good one.
And nobody would dare ask. Nobody would think to ask a man that question.
No, they wouldn't. Okay, unpopular opinion. What is one opinion you stand by that falls into the unpopular category, in relation to food or feeding kids?
Good question. I think intuitive eating is this really open-ended term right now, and I'm a big believer in some ways of thinking about it, but I don't let my kids snack all the time whenever they say they're hungry. We have a snack twice a day. I'm pretty strict about it. And that's it. And then the kitchen's closed until mealtime, because mealtime is super important in our house. And so they're not snack machines like so many kids are allowed to be today, where they're just allowed to go to the snack drawer and grab whatever they want whenever they want.
And I be owning a snack company and still having that philosophy, you are singing music to my ears, because my platform was based on kind of the French food culture, and they very much value mealtime, and they have one snack time throughout the whole nation called Le Goûter. It's at 4:00. And what that helps them do is the kids are actually hungry at mealtime. And so when I hear about the intuitive eating, the problem with that is they're not taking into account that processed foods often override our hunger hormones and cancel out our natural ability to regulate. Put on top of that being
give me a bag of chips, and I don't have to be hungry.
It's
I'm most certainly not hungry, and I will polish off that bag of chips. I mean, it's the reason I don't buy it. It's designed for you to want to lick your fingers at the end of that bag.
Exactly.
We're not designing that for you to have a little bowl of Doritos.
And so we're giving our kids who are not cognitively developed this tall order of becoming intuitive eaters with processed foods that are engineered to be addicting. And it's I think everyone can see the problem there. So yes, if you have a kid sitting down at a meal and they have a plate of whole food, I totally believe stop when you're full. If you're done, you're done. No one's, championing the.
A goldfish is not the same story.
Yeah, so I love that about snacking. I think we do the same thing. Okay, dream connection. What one person or company would you love to meet with or partner with or be mentored by this year to help Happy Wolf reach the next level of success? In case they're listening.
Interesting. Laura Modi, the Bobby founder. Do you know that brand? I mean, I've watched them take an industry and a product that is, you know, so not consumer first. Like that is not, a formula is not designed with babies in mind first. And I think they came at it with you know, baby first approach and have done magnificent work, like branding work and product work in a really short time. And so that's a company that I really look up to.
I feel like you should start a coalition of like clean label founder moms, because you guys could all probably support each other so much.
And like, honestly, we're so inspired by Once Upon a Farm. They've done such incredible work, sort of like trailing the way, and for so many of us small brands, of like, you know, raising that flag to say like fresher is better, and, you know, real food lives in the fridge, and all of these things that we believe so strongly. And so, you know, we love just like being in their orbit and being near them on store fridge shelves. And
they're
really
great. I remember when they came out, and I didn't even have a child yet, but I was like so happy because someone has to change it, right? Okay, if you could wave a magic wand, what's one thing you would change immediately about kids' snacks on the market today?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of things that I would change, but I think the freedom in which food brands are allowed to advertise and market these claims that mean nothing, like words like natural or fresh or healthy, or, you know, there's so many more. And I think that just like creates this false sense of goodness for so many buyers, parents who like don't necessarily have the time to be, you know, investigative journalists, like looking up ingredients and what they are and what they're for. I think, you know, there's so many examples of companies that have like a natural version of their formula that is actually exactly the same as their original formula, but the natural one is like calling these health conscious parents. So I think we would all just be on such a more even playing field if that changed.
You're saying if
tomorrow.
They couldn't put bold-faced lies on the front of their packaging, that would be a good thing? I mean,
yeah, like if you had to move the back of the package to the front and like make the ingredient panel huge, it would be really hard to find anything that you needed in the grocery store, but it would really help our cause.
Oh my gosh, I was in Whole Foods today, and I like did a double take because I saw red vines, and I was like, that can't be like red vine, and I pick it up, and it is, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And it's like, granted, they had removed the red dye number 40 and the corn syrup, so better. Like, no one needs to be eating red vines, but like, again, if that's your guilty pleasure, great, better. And then big, loud, and proud, real sugar. I was like, versus, I mean, corn syrup's still real sugar, but it's like, real sugar, loud and proud. And so anyway, good for red vines for making an attempt, but still, I don't know. They don't need to be in Whole Foods. So the future, what is next for Happy Wolf?
You know, it's funny talking of the future because we are truly like a newborn baby brand. Like, I feel like we are just getting started, but I think, like we spoke about, there's just so many products that could use an upgrade, a makeover, if you will. I think there's so many categories that parents stay away from entirely. And so then they don't have that option for something convenient when they need it. And so I won't say what we're thinking, and I can't say that we're perfectly clear on what will be next. But I know that, we have tons of ideas for other categories that could really use innovation and could use, ingredient decks that are the same as if you followed a recipe online and made it at home.
Great. I'm happy to hear that you are thinking of expansion despite being a newborn baby.
Yeah, it's like silly to be thinking of expansion.
Keep your eyes ahead, right?
Day.
For those dark days when you're like, So we talked about people can find your bars. I know here where I am in Erewhon, and you said Gilson's, and then on the East Coast, you said Wegmans.
Yes. And I mean, primarily today, you can order at happywolf.com. You know, you have to order a few boxes. We really appreciate, you trying it and sharing it with other kids and spreading the word, because I think, I know firsthand how many parents are looking for this, and, we feel like we just need to find them.
Yeah, we order them from you. And, again, for all parents out there listening, like, not everyone does this, but if you can afford to go get your $5 or $6 cup of coffee that's like not really necessarily serving, why don't pivot some of that money, right, and put it towards your kids' bars? And that's kind of how I think about it, because, we can make an investment in something that's priceless, which is their health. So people have listened to the podcast. They're excited to try your bars. Where can they find you online and everywhere else?
You can order from happywolf.com on our website, and you can follow our journey, which has just begun, on Instagram at Happy Wolf Snacks.
So head over to Happy Wolf. I have had fun following their journey because the world of food is wild. There's ups, downs, and all arounds. So we will make sure that people can find your website and your Instagram in our show notes. Well, Jana, I just want to thank you so much for quitting your day job and for doing something that is probably a lot harder, but that's for the greater good. Again, our Happy Wolf bars are on their way to us. And as much as I love like cooking with Stella, I don't want to make everything from scratch, and I can't do it. So just for me, knowing that there is a go-to bar that I can trust is massive. And I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Until next week, remember, money spent on clean, nutrient-rich foods is actually an investment in our kids' lifelong health, and that is priceless. And as always, a big thanks to all our listeners for taking time to learn with us, question cultural norms, and for being bold in the face of change. If you learned something, it would mean the world for you to follow, rate, and review our podcast and share it with your favorite families. These little actions will literally help the show go on. For more Earth Food First goodness, follow along on Instagram at earthfoodfirst and check out our website, earthfoodfirst.com. Don't forget to use discount code EarthFoodFirst for 20% off an order on happywolf.com. See you next week.